A steamy sex scandal with alleged hush money paid to a mistress becomes the central issue in a South Florida congressional race. The FBI is investigating. And as the presidential race winds down, can a very popular Charlie Crist save Florida for John McCain? All of that on Power Play this week with our guests, Bill Cotterill, Capitol political editor of the Tallahassee Democrat, and Josh Haffenbrock, Capitol reporter for the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. Okay, so Mahoney becomes congressman when Foley's in a sex scandal 2 years ago, texting messages to male pages in Congress. And now we find he's in a scandal of his own, not with one, but with two mistresses.
Well, perhaps you as an ad man could come up with an ad slogan, maybe build a new campaign around contrasting playing off Foley. You know, Democrats could say, well, at least our guy is a lecherous old goat with grown-ups. I don't think that would save him, though, at this point in the race.
Is there any question but that now Rooney, the Republican nominee for this congressional seat, is virtually handed a seat in Congress?
You've got to think that, and it was going to be a tough ask for Mahoney anyway. He wouldn't have won in 2006 if it hadn't been such in the shadow of the Foley race. If you remember, Foley was on the ballot, and Mahoney still only won by a point or two. It's a very conservative district. It would have been a tough ask even without this sex scandal.
What are these people thinking? I mean, they're public officials. Do they not know that everything is going to come under a microscope?
Yes, and I think there's a political ego. You get to a certain level and you begin, the atmosphere is thinner up there, and you begin to thinking, well, I can survive this, or nobody will find out.
How damning, though, the audio tapes of this congressman on the telephone saying to this woman, "You serve at my pleasure." There's a double-edged word there.
Yeah, that ad made it virtually impossible. The Republican Party of Florida already cut a web ad using his own words, and when he tells his alleged mistress and that woman that he's the only person who matters, that's a really a freighted comment, and it's hard to see him coming back from that comment.
But with the FBI looking into this, $121,000 apparently in campaign money paid to this woman.
Yeah, the FBI, and I'm sure the IRS won't be far behind, and perhaps they could look to find out if she had reported it. But also another freighted word, of course, was the reference to destroying all audio or video tapes of a sexual nature. Didn't say there were such tapes, but just the fact that those words were in the agreement. It's not something you want in the last 3 weeks of a race.
All right, well, from the ridiculous to the sublime, let's move on to a higher plane.
Right.
The presidential race coming to a close. It's tightening up, even though Obama seems to be way ahead. All the projections show he's got electoral votes tied up for the Electoral College. Can he win Florida, and how key is Charlie Crist?
Well, it seems like it's going to be difficult for him to win Florida if he's so far behind in the national numbers, and he's losing the race overall. Charlie Crist could be a key, but he seems to have distanced himself a little bit. Charlie Crist is a magician at picking popular issues, figuring out what's going to be popular and going out and selling it. And I think in this election, McCain's not proving to be that popular, and the governor's backed away a little bit.
Does it hurt the governor if he's not pulling for McCain actively campaigning?
Not at this point, because there's nobody running against the governor. In 2 years, he may be weakened by a McCain loss of Florida. Certainly, the Democrats would see that as a great opportunity, a harbinger of things to come. But who do they run against him?
Arguably, McCain only became a viable candidate because Charlie Crist helped him win the presidential primary in Florida, but he didn't tank McCain's prospects here.
Right, but I think also, if a lot of people are predicting a landslide right now, 350 electoral votes, something on that magnitude, it'd be hard to blame Charlie Crist if McCain loses states like Virginia, North Carolina, and Ohio as well.
Do you think, in retrospect, the governor is not feeling so bad about not being the VP pick of McCain?
Probably not. Things seem to have worked out rather well on that front.
Being governor of Florida, pretty good gig, even in a bad economy.
Yeah.
Not too
All right, let's go to your respective power play of the week. Josh, we'll begin with you.
I'm going to go with Peter Boulware. He's a Republican running for the State House District 9 seat here in Tallahassee. And it's a very
former FSU football
former
player.
FSU and NFL football star, so he's got a lot of sort of star power. And he's running in a heavily Democratic district, and I think here in Tallahassee, you're almost as likely to see his ads as Obama's. So seems like he has a really good chance to pick up a Democratic seat in a very bad year for Republicans. This week he picked up the endorsement from the Tallahassee Democrat, and if he wins, he'd be the first black Republican in the legislature, or the only black Republican in the legislature.
Very good. Bill?
Actually, Jennifer Carroll from Jacksonville was the first. But mine would be Senator J.D. Alexander from Lake Wales. Got Department of Management Services to sell the state, one of the state's airplanes, the old 23-year-old twin prop. I'm sure you've been on it many times. King airplane. It's only $1.94 million. It's not going to make even a ripple in the projected shortfall.
Symbolism.
But it shows Alexander is serious as a budget man.
And it's grounded now. All right, Bill Cotterill, Josh Haffenbrock, thank you very much. For the latest political news, go to the Safety Review, and we'll see you next time on Power Play.